Welcome back to After Battle. I'm your host as always, Daniel Levi, and joining me now is the number one contender in the flyweight division. I'm talking about Ray Borg. Ray, welcome back to After Battle, man.
Hey, man, thanks for having me on. It's, good to be back on.
Oh, you got it, dude. So let's get right down to business. Are you the guy to dethrone the great Demetrious Mighty Mouse Johnson?
I do believe so, man. I feel like I possess a certain set of skills that not everybody has in the flyweight division. I bring a totally different type of threat, and, I'll be in his face for 25 minutes, no matter how the fight's taking place, it's going to be completely an all-out war, and I'm not going to stop until, what's around his waist is going to be around my waist.
Now, do you feel like this is the exact right time for you to get the title shot? Is it too early? Like, how do you feel about the timing of this?
It don't really matter, man. Like, most people say timing this, timing that. Most people need time for this, need time for that. I'm a rise to the occasion type guy. I've always been since I've made my debut. I show up to whatever fight's put in front of me, and I rise to that occasion, and I have the skill set to possess, to be a champion. And I truly feel like whoever they put in front of me, I rise to the occasion, and I show up, I fight, and I beat them.
Now, when you watch a fight between Tim Elliott and Demetrious Johnson, are you just champing at the bit? Are you licking your chops when you see Tim Elliott have success in those early scrambles?
Yeah, and those it made me realize that he's vulnerable. He really is vulnerable in certain spots. Me and my camp have already talked about those vulnerabilities, and not only that, in those scrambles, Tim Elliott. I felt like Tim Elliott went in there. I think Tim Elliott could have done a lot better than what he did. I felt like Tim went in there just to do good and just to show he can hang with the champ. And a lot of those scramble positions, he never really capitalized on them versus me. If you catch me in a scramble and I end up on top, I'm going to capitalize on every position.
Now, your last fight, man, you go in there against the number 3 guy on planet Earth, Jussier Formiga. At one point, Formiga was considered to be the best flyweight on the planet. And, obviously you beat him, but you took the back of Formiga, and one doesn't simply take Formiga's back. When you took his back, were you at all like, dude, I just took Formiga's back, or were you just thinking finish the fight?
I was just thinking finish the fight. It doesn't surprise me I took his back. I have a lot of confidence in my scrambling ability and my ability to, end up in the more dominant position during those scrambles. And, when I took his back, I knew it was a close fight, and I knew that final round was going to come down to who wanted it more and who was going to win the fight. So as soon as I got on that top position in the third round, I made most of it, and I did as much damage as I could possibly do to try and end the fight.
Now, that fight was in Brazil, man. Obviously, he's the hometown hero. When the fight was done, did you have, without a shadow of a doubt, in your mind that you won that decision?
I knew that I won the fight. I knew realistically that I won the fight, fair and square. But, everyone's always has seen how judges and things go down in Brazil, when it's a Brazilian fighter. So, in the back of my head, I was real like, damn, I won this fight, but it was close. So, are they going to give it to me, or are they going to give it to, the Brazilian, like, typical, like the more stereotypical type judges do? And I was a little bit worried when they said unanimous, because usually in that situation, if it's a close fight between a Brazilian and an American and you hear unanimous, then you know that they got the score wrong and they gave it to the hometown guy. So I was real nervous at first, and then after that, I as soon as they said my name, I was bursting with confidence, and I knew I had won the fight.
But based on how you felt in there, you felt like you won that fight.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I felt like, the first, I was landing cleaner. I was pressuring him more. I was trying to do more, to engage the fight. I landed the harder shots, and then, but it was close going into the first and second, or going into the third round. I knew the first and second were close, so I knew I needed that third round. That third round could have very well dictated it, and, he had my back, and it was more along the lines of, what, I can get out of this position. I know how to scramble out of this position. I've been in this position many times leading up to this. So, it became all heart in that third round, and I got out of it. And once I got on top, man, I told myself before the fight that whether I'm on my back or I'm on top of him, everything I hit him with is going to have bad intentions on it. And, as soon as I got on top, I was looking to put a hole in his face.
Now, obviously, one of the things that you've wanted to show people is your striking. Now, you took the back of Formiga, which is very, very impressive. But do you feel like this is the best showcase of your striking that we've ever seen?
Yeah, I've always had, great boxing abilities. But a lot of my boxing abilities were actually more straight boxing. I spent a lot of time, helping a lot of boxers here in New Mexico get ready for their fights, and really just doing a lot of boxing sparring, trying to help my hands get better. But working with Brandon Gibson and Winklejohn, they've really helped take my boxing to the next level and, prepare it for a more MMA fight rather than just a straight boxing match. And I feel like that fight, I just decided to let it all go. I mean, I told people before that, people had complained in my previous fights that I did a lot of grappling, and I never minded because I knew how young I was, and I knew one day, that my hands were going to start to come out and start to fly. And the last fight was just the beginning. Fighting Smolka was just kind of getting my foot in the door. Formiga was just showing people what I can do, and the next fight I plan to really let these hands go and show people how much damage I can do.
Speaking of the Lewis Smolka fight, I spoke to him and you before that fight. He said this is the death of a prospect, and you go out there, you 30-26 Lewis Smolka. Now, did that fight go how you thought it would?
I really thought I would have finished him, but I knew that my scrambling ability and my top pressure was a lot better than what he was used to. I mean, he's real good scrambling with people who like to play that whole roll around type scrambling game, but not me. I scramble and I get to that position, and I keep it there, and I do my best to finish the fight in every position I can get in.
So you moved to Jackson's, and that to me is a big sign of maturity because it shows that you're not afraid to advance your career. And maybe other people are too loyal to the first gyms they start at, and they're not able to do that kind of thing. But you did that, man, and now you see what direction your career is going in. Is that the best decision you've ever made?
I think so, man. I've had to make some really hard decisions in my life. Being really young, people don't know that I've been through a lot. I've come from a troubled beginning, and I've had to make hard decisions all my life. And, leaving Fit was by far one of the hardest decisions I ever made in my life. But I've always been a very smart kid, and not only just a smart kid, very, very smart about my career. That's one thing is I've taught myself how to be smart and make the right decisions. And it was a very hard decision to do, but I knew it was best for me, best for my family if I made the switch. And I'm sure everybody wanted to see me fail because they could have said, that's what happens when you leave your gym. You go to another gym, and that's just what's going to happen. So much for getting better. But I think it really showed a lot of people that I made the right choice. I mean, my game looked a lot better than my last two fights than it ever has. So I think it was the smartest decision I've ever made.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're making huge progress. You're looking better every single fight. Do you feel like it's finally all starting to come together?
I think so, man. I think my career and my skill level is just, excelling. I have great coaches behind me. I got great coaches who care about me. I have, my Brandon Gibson will just be any given day just super random, like, hey, let's get some work in, and it'll be, off to the gym. And I feel like that's what's really been helping me get comfortable on my feet and helping my striking game excel. And, I get to work with such a high-level jiu-jitsu coach as Rafael Freitas. And, he's a master at, his craft, and he's really been perfecting my jiu-jitsu with my MMA game while keeping it the same. He doesn't want to fix what's already working. So it's been a great switch and great coaches.
What do you think the biggest challenge that Demetrious Johnson presents to you is?
Honestly, man, I don't think he hits hard. His striking isn't like the best. His speed, he has speed, and he's got all that. And I don't feel he's faster than me. I really don't. You want to know his biggest asset to him is his intelligence inside there. He's very smart, very, very smart fighter. He can go in there and fight however he needs to fight to beat an opponent in front of him. It don't matter if it's a wrestler or a boxer. I think that's his biggest advantage. I mean, because his striking's good, but it's not like professional boxer or professional Muay Thai level. His wrestling is good, but it's more timing than anything. And his jiu-jitsu is good. I mean, he's good everywhere, but I feel like I'm also good everywhere. And I think where he really excels in his game is just his intelligence, you know. But I have great coaches behind me, and I'm intelligent myself, and I know where I need to take fights, or you know where I need to dictate the pace too. So you know, I feel like that's why we're such a fun matchup.
Were you impressed how he handled and tapped out Wilson Hayes?
You want to know something, man? I finally watched that fight not too long ago, and I don't want to say it wasn't impressive. I mean, he did tap him out, but it is MMA, man. It's not Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I guarantee you that would have went a whole different way if it was a straight Jiu-Jitsu match. I've said it for years, you know. People always ask me, hey, Ray, how do I defend against this? Or this guy's a great Jiu-Jitsu guy. How do I defend against this? And I'm like, you know what? Just punch him in the fucking face. That's all. That's all you do against Jiu-Jitsu guys is you punch them in the face, and they can't handle it. And, you know, the thing is I watched that fight just to kind of get an idea, just in case we fight, you know, DJ, just in case, you know, that fight comes in August. I watched that fight from my own knowledge, and, you know, Wilson actually had a good game plan going in. He pressured him a lot. He was using, you know, side-to-side movement, fakes, and feint, but he was just too slow, man. Too slow on the trigger, and DJ was just way faster than so. When he would do all these great movements to set up a punch, that punch would be so slow that DJ was already, you know, out and gone. So, I mean, it was impressive, but it was, you know, it was what everyone expected against Wilson, you know?
Yeah, definitely, man. Now, there was another really good flyweight fight announced for later this year, and that's Sergio Pettis versus Brandon Moreno, man. And obviously, it's a 5-round main event. What are your thoughts on that flyweight fight? Because I could see the winner of that challenging the winner of you and DJ.
I think that's a cool fight. Honestly, I was a little sad when that fight got matched up because, I mean, with the whole TJ wanting to fight against DJ and me wanting to fight against DJ, you know, it's going to come down more to a popularity contest than anything. And, you know, TJ's been the champ. TJ's, you know, has a good following. So he's obviously going to win the popular vote. And I think that's just going to come down to it, which is why I was so frustrated when, you know, it was announced that TJ might fight DJ, because it's like, okay, cool, whatever. You know, if I have to fight another fight or 2 more fights, I'm fine with that. But the only 2 fights I wanted in this whole damn division that would even make sense was either Pettis or Moreno. And I told my manager, my coaches, I was like, hey, if for some reason this DJ fight don't happen, I want Pettis or I want Moreno. And, you know, sure enough, they both get booked together. So I think it's going to be a fun fight. I really do. I haven't really decided who I'm going to pick to win that one yet, but I think it'll be a fun fight. And it'll, you know, it's just adding more excitement to the flyweight division. I think this is the first time in like years that, you know, the top 10 and the top 5 is changing, you know. I mean, you had the same guys in the top 10 and top 5 forever, and now you got some young, hungry guys, you know, some new faces. So I honestly think the flyweight division is, you know, more exciting now than it has ever been.
No doubt about it, man. Now, you mentioned this popularity contest, and obviously we know that tweet that TJ sent out, which, I mean, I think it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way because, like you were mentioning, man, I mean, this is a guy that not only is he a former champion, but he's been on the reality show 2 times and this and that. It was kind of low, wasn't it?
Yeah, I let him know that, you know, like that it was a very biased post. I mean, of course he's going to win, you know. I think the votes are like 70-30 right now or something. But, I mean, it was just a very biased post, and it didn't make sense. I mean, I don't know if it was just, like, to show people that, you know, he should fight and trying to show the UFC that the people want, you know, him to fight DJ more than anything. But, you know, it is what it is.
It is what it is indeed. Now, before we get out of here, Ray, I want your take on the 3 most anticipated fights of 2017. Now, first up, we got Aldo versus Holloway this Saturday for the UFC Featherweight belt. What are you thinking, man?
Man, I've been looking forward to that fight forever. Honestly, I've looked forward more to Holloway versus McGregor too. I mean, dude, Max Holloway is just a fucking beast, and I love his mindset. You know, I think he holds the record and will forever hold the record for the most gangster thing done inside the Octagon when he pointed, you know, to Ricardo Lamas and said, "Let's throw down," and they did. So that fight, man, I'm looking forward to. I definitely think Holloway's the future of the 45-pound division, and I even tweeted about it, but you know, obviously the Conor McGruber fans all disagreed, and I tweeted that. You know, that when McGregor beat Holloway was like a 20-year-old kid, 21 maybe. He's a lot different now, and I truly think Holloway would beat McGregor this time around.
Now, dude, for the interim middleweight championship, Robert Whittaker versus Yoel Romero. I mean, that to me is probably one of the best fights they could make, just talking about, two top-level athletes, two of the top guys in that division, and now they're fighting for a championship, man. Who do you think's got the edge in that one?
I don't know, man. Even when he's not cheating, for some reason I feel like Yoel's cheating. I don't know why. He just throws off that cheating vibe to me. So I don't know, man. I don't really know how that fight's going to play out, to be truly honest, man. There's a lot of times I don't really pay too much attention to fights like 155, over 155. I don't know why. I just think, bigger guys aren't as exciting and not as fast. But I really think I like Robert's chances in this fight. He's got strong boxing, a good punching power, and Yoel Romero, he's slow on the trigger, and he kind of, he wins fights by these real short, explosive movements that knock dudes out, which, then gives him an edge as well. But I think Robert Whittaker will pressure him more and, have a better game plan going into it.
And last but not least, the rematch between Jones and DC. Does Jones simply have DC's number?
I think so. When it's just hard to see Jones, losing anytime soon. I mean, we'll see how he comes back off after such a long layoff. But I do believe ring rust is all just a myth. As long as you're training, ring rust, shouldn't ever be an issue. I mean, you don't really forget what it's like to have screaming fans in your face and lights above your head. You don't forget that. So I think ring rust is a myth, but I just don't see DC having any success with Jones this time around. I mean, he couldn't. I mean, I don't see where he's improved and excelled to beat Jones. I mean, I think he's still the same fighter as the first fight. So it's I still think it plays in Jones' favor.
So, dude, if it were up to you, I mean, when are you challenging for this flyweight title?
If it's up to me, then I want that flyweight title August 19th in Seattle.
Yes, sir. Well, we'll be looking forward. I hope you get it. You're the rightful #1 contender. Ray, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me right here, right now on Half the Battle. Let them know where they can follow you, and anything else you want to plug, go ahead, man.
Yeah, I'd like to thank my sponsors, Onnit Nutrition, Virus International, and, everyone who's helped me along the way, my team, Jackson Wink, Brandon Gibson, Winkle John, Greg Jackson, so on and so forth. And follow me at Tasmex UFC.
Ray, thanks again, man. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too.